tear sheets for you guys, which are for our Shine Infinity, which is our newest color line in our portfolio. So this little tear sheet that's actually up here on the screen right here is our face framing. So I'm going to be doing the blonde part of that, the balayage part, just not the Celeste Perfect. We're going to be using Shine Infinity instead, so that you guys can see that, and I'll pass it around and you guys can see the consistency of that. Like I said, that's our newest color line in our portfolio. But before we do that, I'll just do a quick little introduction of myself. My name is Melissa. I am a Wella brand educator. I've been working with Wella for about 5-ish years, and I've been doing hair for about 17, 18. And fun little fact, I started here in Houston. I live in Phoenix, but yeah, I started school here. I lived here quite some time ago. But yeah, so I love the city. It's great to be back. But awesome. So we'll kind of just straight get started because we.
Can you also give us your Instagram and?
Oh yeah. So my Instagram is up over here, which is melissao.hair. Also underneath that I have wellaed.com. That is the best place to look for new, upcoming, or education, or find education or take any classes at our studio or online. And then our Wella app. If you do not have it and you're using Wella, this is going to be your like Bible. It's amazing. We have new product lines, new videos, any sort of knowledge library that you want. That's all on our app. So I definitely recommend utilizing that if you don't already have that. And then also the Salon Wholesaler IG as well, Instagram. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so we have our lovely model here, Sky, that we're going to be working on today. So like we see up here, we have our little face framing. So I'm going to show you guys just the basics of a face framing balayage with our free lights. Does anybody use free lights here? Yeah. Okay, this is our Wella's clay-based, copy hasn't paid yet, sorry. Our clay-based lightener. It is amazing. It has a technology inside of it called ActiFuse. And what that means is that there's tiny little network inside of this lightener that actually keeps the inside nice and moist and hardens the outside so that you do not have transfer of lightener onto the next hair. So it's made for freehand painting, hence the name Free Lights. And then also we have our developer that goes with it. So in true Wella fashion, we match everything. So these are your only white bottles that we have. Our lightener has an A on it and our developer has a B on it. So just if you ever get confused or anything, this is what we have. A and B, these two go together. They're married. Yeah. Cool. All right, so Sky here already has some previously, lightened pieces already. But we're gonna go through here and kind of pick up some of those pieces and take some of those lighter pieces and lighten those as well. And so we're gonna go, I'm having you that way really quick. So behind her ear, it's pretty dark, right? So that's what we're gonna really focus on back here, and then bringing light up here. And then we will do a color melt with Shine Infinity, so everything will be nice and cohesive, and all of her previous highlights will melt into our new lightning that we're gonna do. Does that make sense?
Now, is this a temporary color as far as the back of it?
What do you
like
mean
a
temporary?
dirty color you're putting on the back for the dark?
I'll be doing a color melt with our Shine Infinity, which is, yeah, we'll go over that as well. Yeah, whenever that's, but you can do it in any form you would like. So that's the best part about this technique that I'm gonna show you. It's all customizable. So you can use it in any fashion that you would like. We call this an express face framing because it literally can take you like no time at all. This can be a quick in between appointments, something super quick but gives you like a lot of effect with a very small amount of time, right? Cool. All right, so let's get into it. I think there's there's another seat up here if you need one. Or this on here. I think you're okay. Okay, so we did chat earlier, and she is a middle parter, so we're gonna go off of her middle part so that we have like some light pieces that come up through here and then also back through here, and like when she pulls her hair forward, we'll have like some light pieces kind of trickling through there as well. And so where I'm going to find her, like round of her head, I'm gonna actually place this comb right on her forehead, like right at the base of her forehead, and kind of move up a little bit, and see right where that starts to like bend. If I go like this, it bends right about here. So that means that that is where those pieces are gonna show. So these will show, and this will kind of lay over as a veil. Does that make sense? Right, so like I use my comb just to kind of bend and see exactly where her hair bends and where this will fall right over like a veil, because we don't want to do that big 90s chunky piece. We want to do this a little bit softer. So we're going to start there, and then I'm going to be taking zigzag sections. And move that little piece out of the way, and I'm going to start from about the round of her head where her like occipital is, and I'm just going to zigzag all the way up to that piece that I started with right there. So see how I have that just like from back here, just zigzagged up to that front piece. Clip this out of my way and do the exact same on the other side. And the best way to get it to be even on either side is just drawing a straight line from one side to the other. We're not going to touch any of this at the moment. We will when we gloss everything. But so I'm just going to do like this straight line across so it shows me exactly where the other piece is, right? So I end up with everything symmetrical on either side. So again, I'll start here, zigzag my way to the back of the ear, and meet up with that same line right there. So then I have the same on this side. And again, you can detail this and customize this however you would like. If your guest would like a little bit more of a heavier front piece, obviously start a little bit further back, right? Or if they want a little bit softer, we would probably not do as much in the front right here, or not go as high up, right? So I am going to pin this all out of my way because I will not need this. And what's cool with her hair too is she already has those previous highlights. So those are going to just melt into the other pieces that we're gonna do. This out of the way, and then I'll show you what that looks like from the top. Got a lot of hair. Double. There we go. So I'm gonna have you tilt your head down for me. So we can see that either side is equal on either side here, and she has like her zigzag on that side and then on this side. So that's how we're gonna start this all out. Perfect. And then we're gonna mix up here. So our lightener is going to be 1 part of our Blonde Or free lights, and then 1 to 1.5 of developer. So I'm gonna do I'm gonna do 40, sorry, I speak in grams, is that okay with everybody, instead of ounces? Okay. So I'm gonna do 40 grams of our Free Lights lightener. And then I'm going to do 60 of our developer. sure that I don't have any clumps in there, because with the clay lighteners, you want to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. I always say that the consistency of this should be kind of like icing, like cake icing. I'll show that to you once I get this all mixed up. Because if it is a little bit runnier or not as thick, if you do like 1 to 2 or anything like that, it can not actually harden on the outside cook, so it kind of defeats that purpose of that whole ActiFuse technology that's inside of that. So we recommend 1 to 1.5 ratio. So let's see how that like consistency is.
What's the lift?
What's that?
What's the lift? Like, is it, how much is that?
We have a 20, 30, and 40.
No, I mean, how much does that, like, the lighter? How many?
How many levels of
Yeah.
lift? You can get up to 7.
7, okay.
Up to.
She said up to.
Yes.
Question: what does it all depend on as far as the lift goes, as for this product?
Meaning.
Like, does it depend on the amount of time that you leave it in specifically,
Correct.
or the volume that you're using on it?
Well, I mean, as with normal lightener, it would be both factors are always going to have a play in your end result. So typically when I'm doing something along these lines, I'm doing a 30 to 40 volume, because this is express. And also we're doing very large sections in this scenario. So 30, 40 volume is gonna get you your best results, right? Yeah, but we have everything from a 20, let's put this down here so that I do not break that phone. 20, 30, and 40 volume in that. But our timing is up to 50 minutes. Which a lot of the time, if you just go low and slow, that's your best bet, right? You can also put Blondor free lights inside of a foil as well if you need to, or kind of like today, I'll be using a cellophane just to kind of keep those separate and off of her face. It's not because it's not gonna be hard enough and it will transfer, just to keep them separate from each other. Okay.
Would using foil make it like heat up a little bit more, or?
Foil is always going to incubate a small amount, but with this, it's already going to be incubating itself because of that technology. But with the foil, if you're using foil, I wouldn't do full foil packets. I would maybe lay on top.
Oh, cool.
Just to kind of separate a full foil packet, you're kind of defeating the purpose of the product, right? In that case, I would be using just traditional Blondor or Blondor Plex. So, since she does have this like really dark area right here, I want to make sure that I'm getting that. If you guys can see that over here. So this whole area, I'm going to really focus on that because she already has previously lightened pieces up front. We're just going to accentuate those, but this I want to make sure that we actually really get into that area. So I'm going to take, here's her ear right here. So I'm going to take this section from right behind this ear to make sure that I'm really incorporating that. And everything is going to be a zigzag. Do you guys know why we zigzag? What would be the point of that?
You don't have like a line of demarcation.
Exactly. So we're not going to be doing any like teasing or anything. We're just painting straight on the hair, so it's diffusing that line. And again, this whole technique can be completely customizable. So if she wants a little bit of a softer look, you can leave hair in between. I'm going to do all hair, except for anything that's super light. I'm just going to drop those out. Or if you've got someone that just wants those little baby pieces up front, you can do that. So it's completely customizable, same technique, just you decide what you and your guest would like, right? So I'm going to take this whole area right here. I'm going to leave this piece out because I'm just going to detail that itself. But with this technique, you're going to always want to direct forward. so that when the hair, because I'm gonna come all the way up to the hairline, so when the hair falls down, this is the highest that it is, right? So right in the front, that's the most light. So I'm gonna direct forward. And then, are you guys brush, back of the hand, balayagers, or anything like that?
All of the above.
All of the above, right? Just kind of depends on the scenario. I am the same way. So today, I'm just gonna use the back of my hand, just so I have a little bit more control. So I will take a little bit of lightener and place it on my hand. And I use these angled brushes because I feel like I can detail a little bit better with that angle. And if you guys need to, while I'm actually doing this, you're more than welcome to come up and like kind of see technique a little bit closer if you need to. So I'm going
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. It's okay, I won't bite. Not today. So I'm gonna direct forward like this, right? Can everybody see? If you can't, please come up and around. I'm gonna start in the middle, and I'm gonna make a little bit of like a circular motion. So on that bottom of that circle is when I'm going to touch the product to the hair.
Okay.
So we're gonna come down here, I'm gonna start in the middle. The one thing about balayage is always making sure that your tension is super tight. Because we don't want any little hairs kind of flying out of the way. We wanna always make sure that we have that super tight, that tension is right here. And also that we fully saturate. Because more saturation means lighter hair, right? So I start in the middle and kind of work my way up. Make sure that this whole center section is completely saturated. And then I will work up into detailing into these little peaks. So I want to make sure that I paint those peaks so that they look like highlights, right? Whenever it's down. So again, detailing up into that little peak right there. And then this one especially. And I can always grab more product. And I leave the product just on that, I make little like beads like this. So it's just a little like line. And then I just work up. Work up into those peaks. And then we can always brush up forward just to diffuse that line a smidge. And then I will make sure to lift this up just a tiny bit and make sure that I get the underneath section saturated, and then I lay it on my hand and work the bottom. We want to work the bottom after, because then I don't have, or I have full tension the entire time, and I have full tension while I'm detailing all of those little pieces. And so I make sure that we have full saturation. Like the bottom of her hair, we shouldn't see any of her hair peeking through, because that's where we want it the lightest. And then my fun little trick is I take this and I flip it back this way and make sure that my underneath is saturated. And then I push everything back together just to make sure that it's like all connected together. So we'll push all that together. If you do need to use a little bit more product, go for it. There we go. And then I'll use my handy dandy cellophane, thank you. And I'll just place that right there. So basically I'm just keeping it off of her face. And then since these pieces already have quite a bit of light, that's why I'm just gonna detail this like as a single balayage piece. So again, I'm gonna hold this forward. And then fully saturate that middle area, and then just detail the front. And if you have any like little clumpy areas like this that I've gotten right there, you could just use your your index finger and your thumb and just kind of slide that through the hair. And just make sure that that is all nice and soft in that area. So we're gonna push up, soften that up, and then again lift, and then work that down. And then I'll just lay this one right on top of that one. Cool, makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. And then our next section, we're gonna do the same exact thing, and again, we're gonna zigzag. I'm gonna leave, since she does have these kind of curtainy bangs, I'm gonna leave those out, and I'm gonna do those all alone by themselves so I can actually really detail those. then we're gonna take that zigzag again. And this is literally like 3 sections. I'm gonna do a zigzag and a little bit of a diagonal. So those are my sections, right? That's 3 sections. That's, well, it'll become 4 with those bangs, but so with that. And then she's got kind of some pretty light pieces in here, if you guys can see that. I'm actually gonna take those out because we don't want to over process any of that, right? And also you can kind of go back through that at the end if you really needed to, and then just kind of bring those up if you wanted. But that's the best thing about this technique is it's, again, completely customizable for you and your guests, right? So again,
I have a question about how thick do you take those sections? Like how you said it's only 3 sections. About how thick can you make
they're like 1 inch. I mean, if you want to come up and like hold this, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, it's a pretty large section. So if you look in the back here, so my front is a little bit, yeah. So my front's a little bit less thick than the back. The back is about this thick. So that's just because of her hair pattern and everything like that. So, but yeah, you're taking, I would say probably about 3 to 4 sections on each side, depending on your guest's hair. So again, we're pulling straight forward, having that tension right here with my fingers and painting the middle. And doing my circular motions so that right when I come down from that circular motion, I am touching the product to the hair. And I'm always kind of keeping my, my brush at an angle just so that I can be utilizing that diagonal tip, right? And then I'm gonna go up into these peaks. And since we've got a lot of depth in this piece, I'm gonna make sure that I have everything up at the top completely saturated so that it does get as much light as possible. And then just kind of feathering that through, blending that out. And again, I have that little piece right there, so I just wanna make sure that that gets nice and blended out. And same thing on that side, just kind of blending that out. And then underneath, making sure that that is fully saturated so that that ActiFuse technology actually has product to be able to work with, right? Because we need product for it to actually work. Like if you left it like this, you're gonna have splotchy end result all over, right? My other thing that I love to do is actually separate the hair on my hand. That's why I like my hand, because I can feel the hair moving, I can see it, I have full control, I can move my hand around. But see how I separate and there's like dry pieces of hair in there? I can make sure that I have everything completely saturated through there. So just separating it, and then I move it back together. And then we'll flip over again and make sure all of that product is on the other side. And then to ensure that I don't have like big huge clumps or anything like that, my last pass through, so I'll make sure everything is fully covered. My last pass through, I'll kind of go like this and round my hand so that I make sure that everything is nice and smooth on the other side to ensure a even result.
And how high do you know how to take underneath the hair?
So with balayage, you do want that little bit of dimension. Sorry. Oh yeah, I'm like, I hear, but I don't know. So you want that little bit of a dimension. Typically, I go from middle to ends, right? Because that's where you want that super, super light pieces because you want those to pop through, you want that to be the lightest. Everything through here is really a balancing out, lightening, creating dimension, and a diffusion. So you don't like necessarily need it to be completely like super, super light underneath. You want the top to be like that because you want it to be more of a diffused look. Like if you wanted it really, really light all the way to the top, that's probably when we would do a different technique, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I typically see like where it's all together right here, that's where I start on the bottom.
Okay.
And make sure that it's up to that so that I have all of that light from mids to ends. Alright, and then this piece is already ready for us, and I'm gonna separate this into two because I do have those pieces right here. And then again, she's got some super light little spots, so I'm gonna take these out. Just kind of move those out of my way. Feeling okay? Let's try it. And this is what I love about doing a zigzag technique is that you don't have to do all of the fussing with teasing and then trying to get those teases out at the bowl. And especially if you have someone with a lot of hair, the teasing at the bowl and trying to get all of that out is a pain, right? And then you're like spending a half an hour actually just trying to comb out hair when you could be toning and glossing and all of that. So this is why we call this express, because it's super quick. We have that diffusion with the zigzags. And on this one, I am going to, these top pieces, I want this to be a little bit softer, just because she already has those previous highlights up here, so I just want a little bit of dimension through that. So I'm not gonna go as heavy through these peaks at the top. I'm gonna do more of like a softer look through there. So just kind of blend that out, feather that out. And again, just keeping all of that tension the entire time through the ends. It will make your life so much easier when it comes to balayage and freehand painting. And then laying straight on top and separating and making sure that product is completely and fully saturated through there. I know for me, I have to remind myself sometimes to put more color, it's okay, more, just because I want it to be super light.
Good.
And then this, I'm gonna flip her over again one more time. Making sure those ends are together so that they can process and be the lightest. And again, popping that right there, just keeping that nice and separate. So these front pieces, we are going to I'm gonna do just a smidge of more of a zigzag right through this top part, just so I have a little bit more diffusion when it is down. Okay. And then this is where you can really get creative, especially in these front pieces, if they have a bang or a curtain bang or a fringe or anything like that. So I'm gonna do more of like a check technique than the up in those like peaks and valleys, because I just want it to be more in the front. And when you're balayaging, don't be afraid to like move your body position or like move your hands in a different way, just so that you can get into those little nooks and areas without getting any other color anywhere else. So just kind of diffusing that through there. Making sure I really have those front pieces. So how I have all of this, now you guys can actually see like how it will lay when it's down and how these pieces will lay over the top and just veil it. But we'll still have so much impact. And I'm gonna go even higher on this one underneath, but not all the way to her root. We will blend that out with our Shinefinity later as we do our root melt. So just really making sure that that's fully saturated underneath. That's gonna give us a super bright end result through there. And that's why I really like these cellophanes too, especially when you're detailing in the front there, because it will keep it off her face. And you can also see it, you know what I mean?
Are
And
those
we-
sold here?
And we do, what's that?
The cellophane.
Do you have these here?
Do you have those here?
Maybe?
I,
Maybe.
maybe, yes.
They are, they're color track,
Okay.
so,
You can't use that photo.
You could definitely use a foil. I like these with balayage,
Like this, yeah,
just because I can see it, processing as well.
Got a question.
yes.
The clay powder,
Mm-hmm.
in it when it's processing, can you see it or is it more you gotta flake it?
I will show you the best technique.
Okay.
I'm gonna get this side done and I'll show you
Gotcha.
when, like, so we can see that other side. It's so you don't take full product off of it.
Gotcha.
So I like to spin my guest around and like actually flip her instead of being on this side, so I can pull this. I'm right-handed, so actually I can pull this tighter on this side. But we're gonna do the exact same thing. I'm going to zigzag from about like right where the top of her eyebrow is, and then making sure to go all the way back, so I have those back pieces. Because we see how this back piece is super light compared to, or I'm sorry, super dark compared to all of this. We want to make sure that we have all of that. Get our middle nice and saturated, and then slowly move up. And with these pieces right here, I don't wanna like, this side is a little bit lighter, so I don't wanna over process those. I'm actually going to leave them out. Again, completely customizable, right? I do? Oh, it's all right. Not a new thing. Actually, and this fabric really doesn't bleach too much. And then of course you always have to carry a Sharpie with you, right? Or at least I do. Sharpie and Tide sticks. Perfect. So I did all those little peaks, and then I'm just feathering through there. And like I said, I'm just gonna kind of bring this one down, and I'm gonna leave that piece out of my like saturation process, because I don't want to do, I want it to be a little bit lighter, but not completely saturating it because it is already super light. So again, going underneath and making sure I have all of that blended out underneath. And then popping this on my hand, and I'll just move this guy just right out of the way with the tail of my comb. And then saturate, saturate, saturate that piece. Oops. And of course, balayage is always a little bit messy. then I left this piece out just so that I could just customize that front piece. Because we did that on that side too. That's the other thing I like about these cellophanes, or using something that's clear or not using anything at all, is because I can go back through and look at that side to make sure it's the same, right? I don't know, I know that I have, in the past, had one side that was a little bit lighter than the other, and then you have to go back through and fix that, so try to save myself a little bit of time.
How long is usually the processing for her hair level for what you want?
It really depends on the level that you're going for, but, and also what's on the hair, right? So, what kind of color you're fighting through and all of that. But typically, I would say 30 to 50 minutes.
So since it's oxidizing naturally, that's the time frame because you're not putting it in the dryer.
Correct, yes. So no heat, yeah. Nope, or if you're like me and you live in the oven, I just send my guests outside for a few minutes. I'm like, hey, can you go sit outside for a sec? And honestly, it will kick it up just enough, right? So I don't have a big enough zigzag, so I'm gonna go back in here and take those pieces out. There we go.
So is the bigger the zigzag, the bigger the dimension, or like?
So if you did like a fatter one instead of like this, if you did like a larger zigzag, like if we did more of this than this is gonna give you more depth, right? Because you're gonna see more dark in between. This will give you a blended out, softer look up at the top, still diffused, but not as much dimension in a smaller zigzag.
Is it harder to retouch with the zigzags though?
Not necessarily, because you can actually, like I said, customize them and like kind of pick them out. Like I'm picking out her highlights, you know what I mean? So it's the same kind of thing. And you'll see it like up through here, so then you can just kind of go back through, pick that out. Or sometimes with my balayage, I do balayage first, and then the next appointment I'll highlight, and then I'll go back to balayage and highlight. So I kind of go in between just to give that soft look. But we can see these super light pieces, so we're gonna pop those out so we don't play with those.
Thank you for that, by the way.
What's that?
Thank you for that.
Yeah. That's why it's best we just chit chat and nobody is shy. Because somebody usually always has the same question, right? Go through this, and you guys can imagine like how quick you could do this without talking, right? You know what I mean? Without having like a conversation or kind of stopping and showing. Like you can get this done in like 10 minutes. So how quick is that? You know what I mean? To be able to do, and you'll see such an impact with this color.
One more reminder for those of you guys watching it, watching at home. Please, by all means, if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them on the feed right here, and we'll be able to answer them as best as we can.
So again, making sure the middle of that is completely saturated and white, and I cannot see her hair through it. And then lifting up, detailing the underneath.
And when you detail the underneath, are you trying to get all the product even inside the?
No, I'm just
Just
trying
on the
to blend it
outside?
out. Yeah, because I'm gonna get all of that product right there again when I do my hand or on the board, right? So I'm gonna make sure that I have all that product through when I go like this.
Gotcha.
So when I'm separating, I can see that there's dry pieces through there, so I separate, make sure that that has product, adding more product, moving up a little bit, separating that, and making sure that everything is covered through the ends before I start to push it back together. I think that was like the biggest thing for me when using this product, is making sure that I'm spending the time and really separating all of that hair. You can see, can you guys see that? That I'm like separating it, and now there's you can tell that there's no dry pieces in there. So that's when I come back through and I push it back together. Because
You
when it's,
basically do that just halfway down.
yep, I do that from
Where
like
the
mid
solidity is.
down, yep. Cause that's where I want the like lightest pieces. Oh, we got a ghost. And then doing my little round. And I always make sure that these ends are pushed together, just so we have full saturation through the ends. Because when it's together, that's what that technology works, right? So when it's actually intertwined in that whole network. Perfect. And then we'll take this part. These are our little bangs. And then this is our last part right here. And smooth those guys out of there. The tension on when balayaging is literally like the biggest key. I remember when I first started balayaging, I was like, oh, I'll just be kind of loosey-goosey with it and use a board and just go. And I would have like random pieces of hair flying out over here and it had color on it, so I was getting on the other pieces and it's like, okay. So this just like, it just ensures that you will have a clean and consistent end result, right? So again, this is the that last piece. So I'm just doing a little less detailing up at the top because I want it a little bit softer. But you can see like my different elevation, like what that changes, you know what I mean? Like if I just kind of dropped it a little bit and I don't have that tension, this part's dropping. So if I come back to where my elevation and my tension is, like how tight that is and how easily I can get into those little tiny crevices and those little peaks and valleys, right?
So direction and elevation matters.
Oh, 100%. Especially in balayage, that's why I say to always pull towards the face, and that's why I like these, just to be able to have something in front of it so you don't have lightener on her skin, right?
So it's direction, elevation, and tension.
Yes, and saturation.
And saturation.
Yes, saturation, the word that I say a million times. And in my head, I'm like, saturate, saturate, saturate. Making sure you have enough product, and then again separating, and see, you can see those dry pieces right there. That will go away right now. So this is why I like to use the back of my hand, because I really do feel like I have not necessarily more control, but I can like maneuver my hand a little bit easier than a board, and it's a little smaller.
So how would you do this technique on short hair?
On short hair, like super short hair,
Like mine?
like yours.
Yeah.
I would actually, what's that?
Would you do a tease a little
No,
bit?
I would actually just do singles. So I would take little single pieces and just hand paint.
Hand paint?
Yep.
Okay.
Just little single pieces instead of doing these big chunks, you know what I mean? You can still zigzag and single piece through there.
So the old school way would have been like the cap.
A cap,
and
yep.
A cap, taking it
Yeah.
out, and
And
then
we-
using the liquid.
We all know that the cap takes forever too, right? Like the first part of that. So yeah, with that scenario, I would definitely, I don't know.
Make it a comeback though.
Yeah, which is
Make
kind of
it a
crazy,
comeback.
right?
Yeah, cause they're doing more of a speed lighting.
Well, and I feel like it's definitely, so I kind of screwed that one up and moved it, so I'm just placing more product on it. I feel like it's geared a lot towards male clients now, which I feel like the NSYNC frosted tips are coming back, which is kind of crazy.
Frosted tips, ooh.
Yeah.
You telling my age, baby.
I had a client yesterday that came in specifically for that.
For tips.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, it just reminds me of like my like Jonathan Taylor Thomas days and
Oh, yeah.
all of that, like with that bleached hair parting down the middle.
And straight up.
So
I think it's
again-
because the Backstreet Boys started going on tour again.
Right? I watched a video of them the other day and people were like, oh my god, they're so old. I'm like, you know what? Let them do their thing. They're killing it. Get it.
Again, those are mine, ma'am.
Nostalgia.
Right?
It's okay, and we have more. Don't worry.
It's okay, no, they were.
Oh, that was mine, I just said it.
Perfect. Making sure that I have all of this super detailed underneath. And then laying that product on thick. I'm gonna leave out those tiny little ends right there. If a little product gets on them, no biggie. But they are already light, right? So we're just gonna put this little piece here. Not that one, because I just got bleach on it. And that. And then we're gonna spin her back this way, and I'm gonna show you guys how I check my lightener. So, and you can see like clear and concise what that looks like. And then all you have to do is literally just mush that. Do that little technique and you squeeze, it pushes everything to the outside. And so there's no product on that little middle section. So you can really see what the actual color is. So she's processing really nicely. I'm actually just gonna make sure that I put a little bit more right on that top part right there. Perfect. Okay, and then we're gonna process her for about like, I'm gonna put a timer for 20 more minutes on this side. I may rinse one side before the other one's done, just because I was kind of talking and one side
So
might be done before.
one of the things that happened with phone right now, we had technical difficulties. Can you show us again what the technique that you did in order to check the?
Oh yeah, of course. So this is a quick little technique. Do you want me to just do the whole thing? Yeah.
Sure.
So a quick little technique on how to check your lightener and if it is done processing without having to squeegee off or scrape it off or anything like that. I take the biggest piece and grab that and use my thumb and my index finger and squeeze as hard as possible, and that's gonna push all of the product to the outside, and I can actually see what the true color of her hair is. So it moves everything to the outside, and I can see right there, clear as day, what that color is and where it's processed to and how much longer I need to do that. And then obviously just go back through and make sure that there's product back on that, and done and done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. So I'm gonna set a little bit of a timer real quick. And then we'll do a little questions and then some product knowledge on the Shinefinity while she processes. And then we'll rinse and do a root shadow and melt on her. Cool.
Awesome.
The one in the back is dark.
Mhm.
In case if you wanted to go lighter too, you would do the same thing.
Same thing, I would just come up the head like this. So I would basically do zigzags in like kind of a parallel. So, yeah, if I was, so her question is if I wanted the back done as well. So what I would do, because you already have that front done, right? So I do the front first, and it's already towards the front, so it's giving you this clear area right here. So I would take this and I would just zigzag through here, or you can go diagonal with it, you know what I mean? Just kind of depending on what your end result is, but I would just probably zigzag like that and take little pieces, you know what I mean? Like take that side, and then the same thing, just kind of brick lay all the way up, is how I would do that. Does that make sense? That, yeah, answer your question? Yeah. Yeah. So that's the best part about this technique, is you can completely customize it for whatever you're trying to do, whatever you want to do, whatever your guest's end result actually is. Perfect. So I'm gonna have you guys sit over at the shampoo bowls and just hang out there while we process. Set a timer really quick. Oh, you did? Oh, look at you. I'm a little helper, I love it. Awesome. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Oh, I was looking for my phone, it's plugged in.
All right, friends, since this is a time that we're taking a little bit of a
We
break,
can take a little break and I'll get set up with some Strengthfinity. We'll do a little product knowledge about that, and then she should be really close to rinsing out and all of that.
hey guys, just make sure that you be back here within like 5 to 7 minutes. That way we can get started.
How about at 11:11? Cool? All right, awesome.
Hey Siri, set a timer for 11:09. Hi guys, I'm Sophia Vanaya. I just want to let you guys know we will be right back. It's going to be around 5 to 8 minute break as she processes. Also, if you guys have any questions at all, by all means, make sure that you go ahead and type it in the little comment section, and we will try and get you your questions answered as soon as we can and as fast as we can. But please don't stay tuned. Don't go away. It's just a quick little 5-minute break, and we'll be right back.
That's awesome, thank you. Yeah, they're like big magnets, but sometimes whiteboards they'll stick to. like she's already pre-lightened, so I just want like different stuff going on in there. Yeah. Yeah, but also you can use this in any sort of freaking look too. This is just my time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sí, alguien se quiere sentar, ella sigue, está vacía.
¿No tres? No. ¿Vamos? ¿En qué?
Thank you so much.
¿Sabes a quién le voy a preguntar?
Hey guys, Santiago and I again. I just want to let you know that we're about to come back and stay tuned for the rest of the class. It's going to be the web class for Balayage, Craft, and Shinefinity.
Perfect. All right, we want to get started? Yeah, cool. Okay, so I did just a tiny little diagram up here. My drawing skills not super great, but that's just a little bit of what we did with our balayage. Just kind of did a little bit of that, so that when we do our root melts and our color melts, we can actually, I'll write the formula and everything up there so you can see that as well. I already know what we're gonna do on her roots. I'm just not sure about her ends yet. So until we rinse that out, then we'll figure that out.
Hey Melissa, there was a question right here
Yes.
that the Sanders actually asked. They asked, so a 90-degree elevation pull towards the face, does it work better?
Yes, because it's giving you, when you elevate towards the face, you're actually getting more of that lightness around the face, and that's what we want. So whenever you're pulling towards, you're getting the lightest pieces all around that hairline, right? So then when you drop it, it's a soft drop. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it actually just like creates a little bit more of that blend through the root area.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll just do a little bit of Shinefinity. Has anybody used it yet? No. Okay. Awesome. Well, Shinefinity is our newest baby. This is our newest part of our color in our portfolio. So in my mind, this is basically was the missing puzzle piece of something that we didn't have and now we do. So we have a full collection of this. Shinefinity is a zero lift, zero damage, zero ammonia color. So can be used as a color melt, a toner, a all over color. Just a little throw out there if you are wanting gray coverage, not what we should be grabbing. This will shift the first signs of gray. So we all, yeah.
Where can we actually get this product?
At our salon
Salon and Spa Wholesaler.
Salon and Spa Wholesaler. That's a whole mouthful. Salon and Spa Wholesaler. Our Instagram is right here as well, just in case you missed that in our first part. But yes, it is available at the Salon Wholesaler. So yes. And our entire line is completely out already, so it is available in store today. So yes, this is, like I said, our new little baby. Oops.
I'm sorry, did you say covered or doesn't cover?
It will blend the first blend.
It has
The
very
first
minimal.
signs, yes, the first signs of gray, so I'm talking 25% or less. Yes. So if you're needing full coverage on that gray coverage and things like that, go with more Colestin Perfect, or a permanent or Illumina on your root, and then this as a glaze through your ends. Yes. It is called Shinefinity for a reason. The shine on this is insane. So I'm really excited for you guys to see this, especially on a live model and something that's already pre-lightened. It's gonna be amazing. The feel of it, I even just put a clear on my hair just to make it feel better. So, we have all kinds of different colors. Our books, I'll actually pass this around so you guys can see our shades. Oops, let me
What is the benefit of putting a clear coat on there?
I like to explain this like how you do your nails. Like a nail top coat protects it from the color, right? So that's the first thing that chips off, right? So your clear coat or your glaze that goes over top is what is going to fade off first, and then you come to your color, right? So this just gives you longevity. It gives you basically like a seal on your hair and your color, and also to your cuticle of your hair. It's sealing all of that in. In this book, while I pass this around, you'll see that there's 3 swatches here and 1 swatch here. I'm going to explain these because we've gotten this quite a bit. All of these swatches on the far right are going to be your color on top of white hair, right? So like basically our clearest of clear white is what these are. And now these are showing you, the middle one is on depth. So putting it, say put it a 9 on top of a 9, right? And then the one below is putting a 9 on top of an 8, right? Or I'm sorry, yes. And then, so below and above. So on depth, below depth, above depth. So you can actually place this on top of different depths, and you'll still get the same, or still get a tonal result. See that, and just see all of our colors that we have. The best thing about Shinefinity is it has a pH technology inside of it, which means that it starts out slightly alkaline and simultaneously moves towards acidic. So it sits at about a 6.5 pH. So what that means is that basically it is opening up the cuticle just enough to push the color molecule in and simultaneously closing the cuticle. So that's where that 0 lift, 0 damage comes in, is we are not messing with that, but we are opening it just enough to get that color molecule in and then closing it. So it is the most perfect thing for porous hair as well. You're getting a pure balanced result. So the same from root to tip. I'm not sure if you guys have ever encountered this, but I'm sure you have as stylists with ashier tones or pearlier tones when someone's hair is really porous. Some of those spots are grabbing and going a little bit darker or pulling a little bit more of those gray tones or anything like this. This will not do that.
Quick question: will you be able to use a like deep conditioner right before, or would you do it afterward? Use Shinefinity.
I would probably do it after, but if you're talking about like a Wellaplex treatment or something along those lines, before for sure.
Okay.
Because you would want to be doing that after your lightning service or your full color service, and this would just be your top coat to lock everything in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So on that first sheet that you guys have, that looks like it's our service sheet. So it's this one. And in true Wella fashion, we name our services. So these are just a couple of services that we offer with. It's recommendations with the color on the right side. So there's colors and tones on the right side of this chart. These are just the recommendations of those services. But it's telling you timing and our activator. So we do not have a developer. Is that funny? Okay, cool. I'll just go over this really quick and then I'll check her and then we'll see where we're at there. But so with Shinefinity, we do not have a developer because of that pH. We have an activator. So These will be what you will be using with your Shinefinity. So everything is light pink. So again, in true Wella fashion, we color coordinate everything that goes with each other. So light pinks. I'll explain those boxes in a second, but these are our activators. So we have 2 separate activators. This first one right here with the pink label is your bowl and brush. And then this one with the white label is for your bottle application. So there's bowl and brush or bottle application. The difference is the viscosity of your cream. So one is a little looser to come out of a bottle quicker. So that's the difference between these 2.
And even has a little picture in the front.
And it has a little picture, yes. Bowl and brush and bottle. So these are our Shinefinity boxes. Our tubes are 2 ounces. They look a little bit smaller, but they are 2 ounces. They're just a little bit fatter. Just a quick little pro tip that I have found, when opening these, squeeze the side just a tiny bit to let some air in, and then go in and puncture your top so that you don't lose product off the top. So just a fun little, I found that out the hard way and lost about half a tube of color. So that's just and we all know that tubes of color are not cheap anymore. So, perfect. Before I go into this, I'm just gonna check her lightener really quick, and then we'll go over all of this. So just this side.
Okay.
So I went back through and I checked this. So we're pretty much at like a clean 7-8 right there, and that's exactly what I want. Perfect. Yep. Because I don't want that to be like white, blonde. I want everything to just be a nice melt through there. So yeah, we'll just rinse this side first.
Which level do you want to get?
I want her around a level 7, so she's a little bit past that, so we're perfect. Yep.
This is really fast.
Hey ladies,
Yes.
you guys are welcome to get up and come over here. That way you guys can.
Yeah. You can, with this one, just rinse her this side and then just use a little bit of post service. And then we'll just keep her lean back for 10 more minutes, then we'll rinse the other side. So if you want to check her. Yeah, and then just if you want to set another timer for 10 minutes, and then we'll rinse that. Perfect. So what we were talking about is what level do I want her at? I want her to like a clean 7, and if you look at the bottom here, we have like a little bit past that. Like some of those pieces are probably about a level 8, so she's perfect. This is why I'm going to rinse this side out, and like I said, I talked a little bit. So we're gonna leave that one for about 10 more minutes and then just rinse everything. I'm having her rinse and then using a post service to stop the oxidation of all of that lightener. And then we'll move forward and shampoo, and then we'll start our glossing service. Cool? Good. Awesome. Beautiful. Cool. Yep. So just a little post service. And so I'm having her use this post service, which is a neutralizer. So this actually stops the oxidation of color, and you can get that all wet too. So yeah, stops the oxidation of any color service. We have multiple different ones of these. We have a blonding one, so it's meant to be used right after blonding services as well. Okay, awesome. So we can maybe head back over here and we'll go over those while she's rinsing. Sounds good. Yeah. No, you're fine. No, that's later. Yes, yes. No, it's our blonde or freelance, yes. No, you're fine. No, the Shinefinity is what's gonna be our gloss service, yes. Yep, you got it. Okay, so I'm gonna go into reading these boxes. So does anybody know why we have the 0 in front of our level?
That means no lift, no.
0 lift. That's why we have the 0 in front of the boxes here, and we like to just have it like a huge mouthful, right? Like 0, 5, stroke 4, 3, you know, like we don't have enough to say it through those. So, again, 0 in front of our level, 0 lift, 0 damage, 0 ammonia. Super amazing. So that's how.
Did you see the giant color?
Yes, yeah. Like, and when I say it's called Shinefinity, it literally is so shiny, it is crazy. So we have 4, and you can see that in those books, we have 4 tonal families in Shinefinity. So we have our natural, our cool, our warm, and our boosters. And the way you can actually read those on the boxes is, see these little lines right here? They're on the top of the box and then on your tabs of the box. This one is going to be your warm. It's kind of like a orangey-ish color. And then our natural is this beigey color in that little line right there. And then our cool is more of like a violety, pearly purple. And then our boosters are like a little rainbow. So that's just a quick little way, like if you're just going to grab them and you want to be in a cool zone, you can look for those little indicators there. And then we've got 3 boosters. So we have our 00/00, which is one of our boosters. This is amazing for dilution or even just a straight top coat. Like I said, I put this on my hair or any of my vivid clients. If I use like Color Fresh Create and I have bright colors in my hair, I do a top coat of this. Actually helps keep my color longer. And that is a big call out that I have seen, especially with my bright colors and my semi-permanents.
Like nail polish.
Exactly, she gets it. So if you notice in our swatch book, we have a level 4 to a level 9. There is nothing below a level 4 and nothing higher than a level 9. But we can make a level 10 with our 0/00. It is going to be equal parts of your desired level and tone with 0. So you use equal parts of those. So if you were using 1 ounce of, say, 06/07, you would use 1 ounce of 00/00, and you would have a level 7.
Oh, so it works when
With any of the levels. So, yes.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yep. Okay. So our 0 is either used as more of just a top coat, a standalone, or it can dilute to a higher level. So if I used these 2 together, if I used a 06/07 and I did equal parts, 1 part of 06/07 and 00/00, and I did 1 part to 1 part, that would make a 7, a level 7. So it would dilute to the level higher.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so if I wanted a level 10, I would use a level 9 and then equal parts of 0, and I would have a level 10. Yes. So we don't actually have a level 10 in our portfolio, but we can make it. Does that make sense?
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the other part about the 0 is, in the swatch book, you can see we have a 00/66, which is our violet, and a 00/89, which is our pearl. And you can make those into pastels with a 0. So there is a like a little conversion chart in the back of those books that will show you the dilution level. Can I borrow that really quick? So I'm like staring at it when I might as well just grab it. So on the page that it has your boosters, these are our boosters. We have our clear, our pearl, and our violet. And this is going to show you a chart of the level to your dilution, like 1 to 2, 2 to 1, 10 to 1, how to dilute and what your ratio and formula would be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. How's she looking over there? Good, good. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna go over just a few of these services if anybody has any questions. No? Okay. So on that little tear sheet that you guys have that I handed out is our Shinefinity services. So our first one is a Shinefinity glaze. This one is going to be used after like a blonding service. So to neutralize, to add tone, just to basically put a gloss over your previously lightened, pre-lightened hair. That's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, which, by the way, it is all 1-to-1 ratios unless you're diluting. So it is always 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part color to 1 part of your activator. So this is just a good little reference sheet on that. And when you are depositing color, we say 20 minutes. So we can go from 5 to 20 minutes on this, but if you are depositing color completely, you want full saturation, 20 minutes. And then our speed glaze, which we have some like hero shades, which are very potent. You'll see those in your like pearls and your violets and things like that. You can put those on and they will be done in 5 minutes, which is amazing. So those are your speed glazes, and that's just 5 to 10 minutes. Your corrective glaze, which is gonna be a 20-minute glaze, which these can be done on dry or shampoo towel dried hair. So you can put these on dry as well. You'll just get a little bit more vibrancy on dry hair, like any color, right? Our flash glazes, these are a 5-minute, just super quick neutralization, or if you're doing like a corrective or anything along those lines and you know you're going to do another tone, either on top or this is your after. This is your just quick. You're good. Trying to wake everybody up, huh?
Yep, get up.
So this is just your quick little flash glaze. And then our balancing glaze, which is a root to end, same color, 20 minutes, and that's really any tone that we have. And 1-to-1 ratio. Cool. I'm gonna check on our model over here for just 1 second. Give me 1 sec. Okay. Oh, yeah. Or you can just do that.
No sabía que el CCQ era lo mismo.
Pero creo que la tecnología de esta es un poquito más mejor porque se va a penetrar la cutícula enciosa por arriba. Cubre los hoyitos que tiene el cabello.
Right, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Cool. She's looking fabulous. Awesome. So do we have some questions on this color or anything like that before I move on? It's pretty self-explanatory, super easy. It's not going to shift any of your natural, which is great. That's that 0 lift, 0 damage. Will not shift to natural when toning. And then this little comparison chart right here that I gave you guys is a comparison, not a conversion. So we know exactly what we created and also what other lines are out there. So we just put it right here for you. The other thing about a different color line that is in this same realm but does not have our pH technology will shift your base, right? And a lot of the time we don't need a shift of a base. And we don't want any sort of lifting or anything like that. That's why Shinefinity is on its own. It is on a whole another level. This is one of my favorite products I've been using in salon. And just a quick little pro share here. I found after COVID, I'm sure which quite a few of us have, that some people are like, yep, can't do color anymore, don't want to do color anymore, I want to go all natural, I'll just see you every few months for a haircut. I'm like, no, because you're a full head foil and root base and all that kind of stuff. So this is actually a great option for you to add back onto that as a color service because it is zero ammonia, zero lift, zero anything, but you can also tone out and neutralize tones that are trying to be grown out, or adding maybe a silver tone back into their hair, or even just a clear gloss. Because we all know that like if someone was going all natural and they're gray, or just growing out their grays or anything like that, we have some swirly, wiry hairs, right? This will actually help seal and take away some of that frizz and add shine back to their hair. And honestly, when you tell someone that, like who doesn't want shine back to their hair?
So
Yeah.
the shine you have 0, do you still put that with the activator and then it will help that gray
Yes.
hair?
Yep, everything. So if you were just putting on like a clear
Yeah.
coat, I would just after I shampoo it, because you have to use shampooing before you cut anyway, right? So I would do just a clear coat of 0 with our bottle activator, straight at the bowl, 15-20 minutes. And then you have just a shine glaze that's lasting 4 to 6 weeks. Yes. So I've actually found that I'm seeing those haircut clients more because they want this. Because they're seeing that it's like, that it's fading out of the hair, because obviously there's no line of demarcation or anything like that, so it's just going to fade out of the hair. But I'm seeing it's about 4 to 6 weeks depending on shampoos, right? So like we say about 24 shampoos. So depending on that, I don't wash my hair very often, so I get probably 2 months with clear on my hair, which is absolutely amazing, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're rinsing her right now, and then we'll kind of go over what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do a root melt on her, just to kind of bring some of that depth into the top of those tones and make sure that everything melts all together, because she does have those previous highlights in there. Let me see if I can pull up this little video to show you guys with our Shinefinity. And then we'll have our model come back over. What does everybody use for their like toners or glazes or glosses? Does anybody? Paul Mitchell, okay, like the Demi, or, okay, which lifts as well. Anybody else? Color Touch, yeah. See what's awesome is actually in that comparison chart, it has some Color Touch in there also. Yeah, because those are the lower levels, so it has all of those also. And definitely with Color Touch, you still have your 6 volume, 13 volume, and things like that. So you are getting a little bit of a lift or anything like that. But if you didn't need that, Shinefinity would be your go-to. Let's see if I can get this video to play.
That you can mix and match to create multi-dimensional
Is this still on your phone?
Pardon? I knew I was gonna need it.
Right?
Is so beautiful and well balanced. The shimmer results of shine fit mix and match to create multi.
Does not want to start over. There we go.
Shinefinity has a beautiful selection of shades that you can mix and match to create multi-dimensional results. The shade palette is so beautiful and well balanced. The shimmering results of Shinefinity will help both of you and your clients in love. Let's now take a look at the shade families there are 4 to choose from. With these natural tones, these shades are inspired by nature. You can apply Shinefinity over virgin hair to add a boost of shine with natural character. You can also create the perfect root melts to achieve stunning results with incredible shine. Cool. A range of shades from metallic brunettes to crystallized blondes. There are your go-to shades to reduce unwanted warm tones when needed. Also, these shades give you the ability to create cool shades at any depth. Warm. One of my favorite families from the Shinefinity palette. These shades will be your best friend when creating subtle beige, sophisticated coppers, as well as a perfect baby blonde. You will love these shades for your color corrections, especially when you're working on fragile hair or want to darken the hair. And lastly, we have the 3 boosters, specifically designed to complement the sheer results of Shinefinity without overpowering the target shade. The initial lineup, as you can see, is varied, yet uniquely distinctive in results. This is a specialized palette that offers infinite possibilities when used on various surfaces. I love it. The modern colorist should have these tools to create without limits. I will now hand you over to Mayhew, who will go through the technical details of the Shinefinity numbering system.
You've seen the beautiful shades. Now it's time to look a little closer at the numbering system. If you're familiar with Vella's numbering system, you will notice one small difference. Let's recap on what we know. The numbers before the stroke indicates the depth, how light or how dark the color is, and the number after the stroke indicates the tone. Now, what is different? It's the added 0 before the depth. What do you think this stands for? It describes the translucent depth as well as the 0 lift and 0 damage. In terms of the tones, we often get asked, are they the same as our other lines such as Colorstone Perfect and Color Touch? So firstly, let's remind ourselves what the tones are. Here you can see the tones from stroke 0 to stroke 9. Let's now place the tones and tone combinations on the color circle. You will see that the color circle reflects the translucency of the shades. The nature of the tonality does change a little due to the character of the translucent shades. You will see the unique tonal combination that gives interesting and stunning shades. So, we looked at the beautiful palette and the core benefits, but what's behind this? How is it all possible? Well, it's thanks to our balanced pH technology. Let's see how it works. Do you want more from your gloss? New Shinefinity Zero Lift Long-Lasting Color Glaze and a Healthy Shine. Wella Professionals introduces a new clean formula featuring balanced pH technology. I'm going to explain what that means. pH is a measure of how acidic or alkaline a water solution is. A pH scale expresses exactly that in the form of a number from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral, anything below 7 is acidic, and anything above is alkaline. Balanced pH technology regulates the color pH level to a controlled range throughout the coloring process. Here, indicated by our infinity sign. Shinefinity with balanced pH technology starts mildly alkaline so that the cuticles can swell and open slightly, and the color molecules can enter the hair shaft for optimum color formation. Simultaneously, the pH starts to drop to a gentle acidic range to protect the integrity of the hair, which means 0 lift and 0 damage with beautiful, healthy-looking color. Shinefinity with balanced pH technology has been carefully formulated to maintain an optimum acidic level of no less than 6.5. As we know, when the pH of the color is lower, it can lead to unpredictable color results, especially for the porous hair, since a very acidic environment is not optimal for oxidative dyes. You can see that Shinefinity stays true to tone and doesn't overly grab on porous hair. If it falls below 6.5 acidity, the color can be unpredictable, especially over the porous areas. By maintaining this gentle acidic range throughout the process, Shinefinity smoothens the cuticle for healthy looking hair, a long-lasting color glaze, and a healthy shine. All of this in a non-drip gel cream, optimized for brush and gold and bottle application for precise color placement, and consciously designed without ammonia, silicones, alcohol, and animal-derived ingredients. Beyond Gloss long-lasting color glaze. about it just like the beginning of a roller coaster. It starts high, slightly alkaline, and is necessary for better dye molecule formation. And then, upon touch with the hair, the pH starts to drop to guarantee the zero damage performance. The pH controlled all the way down and just levels out before it dips too low. Just like the roller coaster, it needs to level out not to lose control. With the pH of Shinefinity not dropping too low, we can ensure that we're getting the best color formation across all our shades and minimize the risk of grabbing and color shift even over porous hair. And to top it off, we've applied the Wella Professional's clean beauty principles when formulating Shinefinity. We do not formulate with animal-derived ingredients. We avoid ingredients of concerns or dislike wherever possible, and we use efficient and safe ingredients that guarantee a professional performance. To prove good skin compatibility, we test our product dermatologically. It's important to still remember that the allergy alert test guidance still applies. As always, we follow product safety regulations and legal requirements. Consequently,
So that's just gonna go into a few other things, but as she just said, I like to do that little call out right there. If you have guests that are sensitive to color, this is a great option because it has no ammonia. So a lot of the time that is the issue is people are sensitive or allergic to those sort of color molecules and everything like that. So that's something that maybe you can try with Shinefinity. So always again do a skin patch test or anything like that, but this could be your color that you could actually use on somebody. Awesome. Come on over. Yes.
So I have clients that still love to do the henna color, and they always want their hair to be shiny when they're doing something. So on a service.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a glaze on top. Yeah, definitely. I'm not super familiar with like what it would do, just because I think henna is very unpredictable, and but I mean, I would assume it would be okay as like a little shine coat. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what they want, just their color tone dull.
Right. Yes.
Thank you.
That's okay. Have you put this little kimono on for me? Just so we don't get a little lighter on there. And this is just pretty, like as a coat. Yeah. There we go. And then just kind of wrap her around. Perfect. Okay. I'm just gonna comb her out here. So what we did was we did a post-color treatment to close that cuticle and to neutralize the hair, and then shampoo. So we're on shampoo, towel dried hair right now.
Did you skip the conditioner until afterwards?
Right, yes, so because I'm just doing a color surface and I already did the color post, so. And we can already see kind of that placement with where the color was and is. So we're getting those brighter pieces through the front, right? So I wrote my formula up on the board over here as well. And I'm gonna start out with the roots and going about midway down. So like right where her previous highlights start, I'm going to feather just a little bit past that. And I will leave these pieces in the front out for my last, because I just want to tap those and just blend those. I want those still to be the highest pieces up here.
Do you prefer doing it in a bowl or at the chair?
It just kind of depends on what I'm doing. If she's gonna sit for like 20 minutes, I probably will just bring her back to my chair. And I think it is also what I'm doing and if I'm okay with the guests looking in the mirror. To be quite honest, you know? Because sometimes like an orange or a very brassy color could be scary to them, but you already know you're gonna tone it out and neutralize it. But if I don't want them to see anything, probably not. Yeah, if that makes sense, and I'm just being truthful about it.
Is it possible to see how the free lights came out
Yes,
from underneath?
definitely. So, there is like our first section right here. So all of that behind the ear.
That technique was awesome.
Right. So all of that lightened, that's that bottom piece. So everything that was super dark back here now has this bright piece. And you can see how underneath there too. So, yeah, it'll look like once we have it like nice and blow dried, it'll look like just soft highlights with her other highlights. So I'm just gonna go through and just get this on her roots very quickly with a bowl and brush. And what was that? Oh. So I'm just gonna kind of tap at her root here just to kind of get that out of my way. And I'll start in the back just so I'm pulling it away from her face and I'm pulling away from those little pieces in the front. And I did, my formula was 05/98, which is our level 5 with a cendré pearl. So it's a little bit of a pearly tone, but there's some blues and some violets in there to counteract any sort of warmth or anything, because we are just bringing her down and taking all of that warmth out. And then I also put so I did 3/4 of 0598 and then 1/4 of 06/07, because I want a little bit of neutral and I want a little bit of brown in there. So I'm just grabbing and going section to section and pulling that down. And once I put her, the mids to ends formula in, I'll kind of mush that all together and blend that all together. But at this moment, we just want to get this on because they do process quite quickly, obviously. Since 20 minutes is your length, your the most time that you'll use with this. Do you guys do a lot of color melting or root shadowing? I feel like it was so popular and then it didn't, and now it is back in full force with root shadowing.
It's those Instagram models.
What's that?
It's the Instagram models.
Oh yeah, those influencers, I tell ya. Models, influencers. And you know what, honestly, I like it because it gives me a little bit more longevity on my color, and actually kind of helps me with my next service on top of that, right?
And as far as stylus, it's a little bit faster.
Yes, exactly. You're not over foiling. I think for so long we just over foiled and we just tried to like get as blonde as possible with so many foils, and we really don't need to do that. We can do high impact with less time and less foiling or less product, you know what I mean?
Saves people money.
Exactly. I was just gonna say time is money, right? If we can save some time, and especially these days, save some money. And this is what I love about this product. You see how quickly and evenly it's going on, right? I'm not using like a whole heap of color. I am just, it spreads through the hair. If anybody wants to like put some gloves on or anything and come up and just kind of feel it, you're more than welcome to. I would just recommend a glove. You don't have to be shy.
Si quieren venir a tocarlo, a ver cómo se siente.
Yeah.
What color is the ends gonna be? Are you doing more of a brown or?
No, I'm my tone is actually up there. I'm going to do a 07/81 with a 08/98. So I want her to be like kind of curly, but also counteracting any sort of that warmth that's in here.
Whenever I do it, I
What's
just
that?
do freaking, I touch it.
Our pearl is a soft blue base,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, actually you can see in this color how it's kind of oxidized a little bit into a blue. You can see a little bit of that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you wanna try like just kind of with that. See how quickly and easily it just moves through the hair? Yeah.
Question, so in the case that you don't have, like you don't have time to grab the gloves and it's actually okay to actually touch it, right? It doesn't affect your skin in any way?
Right, and that's, yes, that's what she was kind of talking about earlier too, is yes. Personally, in the bowl, I'm just getting it on, right? And a lot of the time we don't have time to put gloves on because our hands are probably already wet too. So yes, you are okay. And so what I'm doing right now is just kind of like pulling that down just a tiny bit in some of these areas. And then I'm gonna move on to the front really quick. And then we'll mix up our end and comb that through. So I'm gonna move from side to side with this application, just to make sure that I ensure that all sides are even. And I'm pulling back and away from her face. So I'll do like 1 or 2 sections on each side. And just making sure that I'm melting that through. Oh, I guess that's 3 sections. And so pulling away from the face, and then when I'm pulling away, it's making it so it's much easier for me when I take the bottle and just to get it on and comb it through, right? So then I don't have to sift through a bunch of stuff. And pulling and getting color on or near her face. So we have these pieces right here. I want to make sure that I'm blending those out, right? So you guys can see like how quick this whole color process could actually take you. It could literally take you probably about an hour in and out of the salon, right? If we did this all like at the bowl, did our quick cut or our quick lightning service, got that on, got her in and out. And that's a full lightning service plus a, you know, a color melt in an hour. That's pretty awesome, right? And again, time is money. Making sure that I'm blending all of that out and making sure I am getting some of this depth color onto those previously highlighted pieces. So we have all of that, blending that out, and then up at the top going a little bit further because remember we left that top part out because it had previously lightened pieces on there as well.
How long will the melt last?
It's the same like color, 4 to 6 weeks. Just yeah, doesn't
I'm saying like
matter.
a fade. One?
Yeah, just fades out through washes.
Okay.
Yeah, so 4 to 6 weeks depending on your guest's shampoo schedule and of course, you know, lifestyle. This is also an amazing product for someone that is non-committal. So if they like those kind of fashion tones or like rose goldies and things like that, or they want to go red from blonde and you know in your heart of hearts that girl is going to want to be blonde again in like 4 months, save yourself some time and use a product like this because then it will just fade out and then you have not created a full-blown year-long color correction, right? So non-committal guests, I actually just moved my mother into a pastel pink because she has gray hair and so now she has pink in her hair and loves it. So, or someone that's like wanting to maybe try a little something different, kind of bringing them from a cool area to something warm. Yes, non-committal is perfect. Or someone like me that likes to change their hair all the time. Okay, so we've got that all good to go. And then I'm gonna mix up my end formula, and we'll get that all on, and then I'll go back and touch these front pieces and barely tap at her root with my root color, and then pull through the ends. So this, for my ends, is gonna be bottle. And I'm going to do equal parts of both of these. And again, so I'm gonna do that little squeeze and then puncture the top. And she's got a lot of hair. So I'll probably do 30 grams of each. Just kidding, 35. And that was 08/98 and 07/81. So if I don't do that little squeeze thing, you can see that like sometimes like if you squeezed it, it would like pop out the top, and like obviously this time of course it didn't do it. But just a fun little tip to save you some product. I'm gonna need some new batteries for this. Okay. So I've got my bowl my bottle, and then I always squeeze my bottle just a little bit before I put the top on, so that I'm squeezing out some of that air. So right when I get the top on, I can put my finger over the top of this and shake that. So I do just a couple little shakes, and then I let that air back in, and then I shake it again. See how easily that just is completely like all the way mixed together. And then of course I always do a little test on my hand to make sure that it's all the way mixed up. And what's cool too is I'll pass this around, just kind of wipe this top off. But you can actually see like glitter inside of those little shimmer pigments inside of the color. And you can see kind of like the, let me get you a new brush so you can kind of see the, how it feels. Perfect. All right, and then, I'm gonna lay this. I'm gonna grab one more, would you mind grabbing me one towel? Of course. I was gonna put this one on, but she's a little wet. But yeah, so you can see that those are already toning out and neutralizing any of those unwanted warm tones. All right, so I'm just gonna start at the bottom here. Section this off just a teeny bit, get that out of my way. Whoops. Your hair's even heavier when it's wet. And I'm just going to use a wide tooth comb and just kind of comb through it first. And then take my bottle, squeeze that on just in a little zigzag pattern there, and run that through, comb it through one more time. Done. That's all you have to do. It glides through the hair so it's like butter. Actually, it's probably even easier. So I'm just pulling that root color through a tiny bit, just kind of pulling that, not scraping product off, just pulling it through. And then squeezing that right on through. just kind of like emulsifying that, making sure that everything has full saturation, and then combing it through one more time and just laying that straight down. And if you guys notice, my bottle has a little curve at the top on the nozzle right here, and this is really great for going into the hair and leaning this up against the head. So like if I was doing that root tap really quickly, I could literally go in and squeeze the color coming up, and then that would be there, and you would just push it down with this flat piece. So these bottles are made specifically to lay on the head, which is really cool. And for very quick application. And if you guys notice the smell of it, yeah, it's actually quite pleasant. We don't have that, obviously, ammonia smell. I've heard that probably the shine and smell from my guests are the main call outs that I've gotten from guests. But it is nice too, like nice little fragrant, nothing too potent or anything along those lines. So combing that through and just really getting this in there. So once I have these, the ends fully saturated, I'm gonna leave this for 10 minutes. So that's all done there. And then I'm just gonna go from side to side, but grabbing again in these vertical sections and pulling back so that I'm blending that away. So I just blend it away with my comb just a smidge and my fingers, and then making sure that everything is covered. And then one more pass through with my comb. And I like doing this like back and away, because I feel like sometimes we can kind of lose behind the ear, or like we'll miss a little section or anything like that. This ensures that you have full saturation all the way through.
What do you mix level 8 and 7?
Say that one more time.
The toners that you use, what do you mix?
Why did I mix both? Because she is not exactly just a straight level 7 on those ends.
9.
And not 8, and also she has those pre-lightened pieces, and so I want some of those to be a little bit curlier. That's why I did the 9-8, the 8-9-8. So I want them to have like a little bit more of a pearl tone than a beige tone. So I like to mix 2. Anything more than 2, I feel like things get canceled out and muddied out, you know what I mean? But a little bit of an extra of something else, I think sometimes just gives you that little edge, you know? So we can see those ends already doing that after what, like just a few minutes? It's already neutralizing any of those unwanted warm tones and bringing out the actual, my desired end results. So we're gonna go back over here. Excuse me. So I always feel like when I'm toning like this too, I'm definitely always pulling away from the face, and also most of the time I'm in the bowl doing it, so it's kind of just easier that way. It's gonna be such a gorgeous melt through her hair. And with her skin tone, we'll just make everything pop.
And one more time, the reason why you left that front pieces for out, it was just to make sure that those are still a little bit lighter than.
A little bit lighter, and mostly so that I have more control over the root. So, cause I just want a tiny little tap on the root. So I wanna make sure that those stay out and they don't get too far down.
Gotcha.
So it's just a little bit of a soft melt instead of a full color melt through everything. I want it just to be blended out, not rooted out. So just making sure I have all of that. Beautiful. And then I'll just go back through and wipe my hands a tiny bit and then, oh, there we are. Need that one, thank you. So now I'm just gonna go through, and you can set like a foil or a towel or anything right here. Like if you're using some, or if you're very, very blonde and you cannot get anything on it or else it'll suck it up, I like to actually lay a towel right here so that I'm painting onto the towel. With her, since we're a little bit like depth difference, we don't really need to, but I'll show you that kind of anyway since I have an extra one right here. So I'll just lay this right on top there, so I have no transfer of color.
You can do that with the cellophane too.
Exactly, cellophane, even foils, you can just manipulate a foil, yeah. I just like to make sure, to ensure that you don't have any excess of color that you don't want somewhere, and then you can actually really see where this is going, right? I'll show you guys on that side too. But just a quick little tap and a blend. And so especially these pieces, I just want that little bit of blend out. And a teensy bit of color through there, making sure our roots are there. And then since I'm already on this side, we'll just go through. And I just kind of use my fingers to just blur that little line right there and make sure that it's all the way through the hair. Blur that line. Pull that through. I always like to do the one that's right here at the temple too, just so that when her hair is back, it's not just like this big huge line, you actually have those little pieces in front, blending that whole area. Because if not, you're just gonna have kind of like depth just right there. And not everybody likes to see that line. And on this side, same thing, quick little tap. Quick little tap, and I'm keeping just like a smidge of color just on the end of my brush. Making sure I get those little guys in there. And then a little tap and smudge. Right. So that is her full color application. And like I was saying, we could have this done in probably about an hour, depending on how her, how she lightens. Which makes for a great blonding service, right? It's super quick, easy, and you're getting full impact, which you'll see once we're blow dried and done. You guys wanna come up and kind of, I'm gonna put this out of the way. You can already, or if you wanna feel it through the hair, you can see it processing and everything. You can feel like what it feels like in the hair, if you would like to. Be shy.
Melissa, I have a question. So the
Yes.
towel, sitting the towel on top of the color is not absorbing any of that?
It's like lightly just sitting there, yeah. And honestly, you can take it off now, you know what I mean? Oops. It's just separating that color. Now that there's already color on there, you could probably take it off, which, I mean, we can just so you can see. But yeah, so it's not absorbing any color. It just keeps those little pieces the brightest. But you can see how that's processing and that how that, you can even see the blend through it already. She's pretty much, I mean, I'll probably leave it 5 more minutes because it has processed pretty quickly. So the back of it will be on for 10 full, probably 15 full minutes, and then the front about 10. So super quick, depending on your colors. We do actually recommend a little bit of heat for intensity. So if you have
Would you like for? Would you
Oh,
like
no,
for-
no, she's
okay.
good. I'm just saying like, just a couple other little call outs about the color. Heat will intensify certain tones, like if you're doing reds or deeper colors. The reason behind that is because when you have heat, it actually expands your cuticle, right? So it's actually pushing the color just a smidge more and actually giving you a little bit more intensity with those tones. So we do recommend 20 minutes with heat for like reds especially. So that's a good call out because it doesn't have the capability on its own to get fully in there, you know what I mean, with that pH balance. So a little bit of heat will do you good on those intense tones.
So no blondes, you don't need no heat for the blonde.
And you'll once you start playing with them, you'll see that, yeah, definitely. And some of those like pearly tones, always think in mind that ashy and cool tones appear darker. So I have recommended to people that are starting out to using this, if you're typically at a level 8, bump yourself to a level 9 to be sure that it doesn't create too much depth for you. Because they can go a little bit deeper with those cool tones because there is so much color packed into that small little color molecule that not that it will overtone, but it can appear darker because there's so much color in a small little area, if that makes sense.
What if it happens? Is there anything that you can do to like?
If it does go a little bit, sorry, just checking my time. If it does go a little bit too deep, you can always do a clarifying wash really quickly, or even a mild lightener. So like 1 part of a blonde or your bleach, and then like 4 parts of either a 10 volume or even water, just to kind of slough it off of that cuticle real quick. Because it's happened. I mean, it happens to all of us, right? Where you're like, I'm gonna give you like a special treatment, you know? And don't worry about this. Oh, it smells like bleach. No, just the treatment we're doing, you know? So yes, like that will just kind of like clear off any of those unwanted tones and then you can retone. But like I said, when you're first kind of using it, I would bump your level up by 1, or even just adding a little bit of 0 to it. Just so you don't go too deep in those cool tones. Yeah.
And then, for example, for that client, if we wanted to break base, you would use another color line. 'Cause
So-
there's no way we can break base.
Correct. There is 0 lift. It like is not possible to lift with it. So actually, my go-to is I do like an Illumina or a base breaker on my roots, and then I pull this through my mids to ends.
Okay.
Yeah. So I actually like color melt it with a permanent color, or something that's like shifting a base, which is awesome. So you can do it simultaneously, or you can do it as separate services, like do your root first and then put a glaze all over everything, or do it together, depending on your time or your preference, right? But you can do it simultaneously, which is great. So you can melt one into the other.
Is the book still going on?
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you mind repeating what you used in the base for her?
On her base, yeah, it's just 05/98, and then oops, I did not write 6. And there is no lift. Yes, I'm just depositing. This color, Tranquility does not lift. So it's Yeah, zero lift. Yeah.
So the purpose of just doing it on the roof is to bring the intensity of the natural.
Correct. And she had previously highlighted hair, and then I did a balayage on it, so I'm blending out and blurring out those lines.
How many people buy it?
No, this is, I did 0.5 ounces, and then I did 0.5. That's an ounce right there. Perfect. And actually, she is ready to go. So I am gonna rinse her, and then we'll get her nice and blow dried, and then you guys can kind of go through it and kind of pick it apart. So if we need to take about like 5-10 minutes and then reconvene, I'll just be blow drying. We'll style her, and then we'll chit chat.
Sounds
have any
awesome.
other questions? Sounds good?
Great.
Awesome. Okay, come on over, my dear. Really good rinse, and the best way to get this off of here is actually just using the color and just emulsifying that through her skin so it doesn't leave any sort of traces of color. So I take a little color on there. Is that temperature okay? Yep. So I want to make sure that I just really, really get all of that color off of her scalp. So yeah, if you want to feel it, you're going to feel it, and it's just, there's nothing in it, and it feels so smooth. I haven't shampooed, I haven't conditioned, nothing. Like, that's all that's in there, yeah. I like laid-back bowls for myself.
It's harder for me to get under.
Yeah. I'm just short, and I always feel like I lean so far over when I have like a side bowl. Like when I'm standing over here, I'm like, and my elbow's always in their face.
But
I'm just gonna use a little color motion shampoo, just to do like a quick little slough off of her roots. Did you have a question?
Yeah, somebody had asked that question that you just answered.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna use color motion. Just a light little shampoo.
Hey guys, there's still a class going on. Can we just... Thank you.
And then after the shampoo, I'm just gonna do a light little conditioner through the ends. Making sure I don't have any product left. between. So that gets everything at the nape. And then one more way this way. Okay. So I can feel. And I'm actually just using Drench by Sebastian. So just a quick little, very moisturizing conditioner, and then just bringing that through the ends. I had our Color Motion conditioner, but it was up in my suitcase, so there's that.
So it was Color Motion shampoo, correct?
Yes, Color Motion shampoo. That's like what I do when I am conditioning too. I'm just making sure that everything looks the same on either side and everything is like fully colored, you know what I mean? So that I don't bring her all the way back and then I'm like, oh, I need to retone or something along those lines. But I haven't had any of those issues with Shinefinity because it just goes through the hair so nicely and evenly. And plus, your guest gets a little bit more of a scalp massage. They think that I'm massaging. I'm just checking my work. So many helpers today. I love it. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to put into her hair is our Sebastian No Breaker. So this is a keratin spray, so it helps for after pre-lightening and to help rebond. So I just put those through those like lighter pieces and then comb that through. And just making sure I get a lot of that excess gonna do a little root shoot, which is just gonna give her a little bit of hold and volume up at her roots when I blow dry. And I just take in little sections, and I just do horizontal sections and spray a little line, spray a little line, and then zhuzh that through.
What did you say that'll do again?
This one is our root shoot. It just gives a little hold and some volume up at her root. So she's not so flat, just gives her a little There we go. And then we have Perfect Me. I'm just going to put through her ends, which is just like a moisturizing serum. And also acts as a heat protectant. And then I'm just going to use a paddle brush and get most of the water out of her hair, and then round brush. Yep. We put it over there so I didn't trip on it. Here.
That was the root shoot.
The root shoot, and then use that just through her ends.
And Perfect Me.
And then I left these boxes up here because that's what my formulas were. Just you can take a picture of them, or they're on the board up there as well. So I'll just kind of go through and just focus mostly on her mids and ends with my paddle brush. Your hair likes to hold on to this water, doesn't it? Do we have another blower?
Yeah.
Would anybody like to come help me blow dry a little bit? Yeah. Come on up, sister. Yeah, of course. It's kind of get moving. I don't know why. Awesome. We can move her too, but I think that's better. You just want to make sure that side is pretty much like 75% dry. That'd be awesome. You can use, just like getting some of that like moisture out of it from like ear to ear. Just with your fingers is fine, and then I'll just go through and the details. Thank you for your help. This hair would have taken like an hour.
And for those of you at home, Miss Melissa's using a GH.
GHD, this is the Air Elite, and then our GHD brushes, paddle brush, and then I'll use my GHD XL brown brush.
Okay, and our wonderful helper is using the Kara RX, the new Kara RX blow dryer, which is fantastic. Our director of education here at Salon Spa Wholesaler, he was he's the main person who helped design that. Jeremiah Sammons.
Okay.
Jeremiah Sammons, he's our director of education, and he helped with that blow dryer. And it's by far one of the fastest blow dryers I've ever used. So if you guys are interested in looking into a new blow dryer, you guys are welcome to check those out. Especially the Kara RX one. That one's amazing. Just an FYI. And no, that message wasn't sponsored by him, even though he works for the company. But honestly, I have actually used that one, and it works very, very well.
So I'm just kind of like flipping back and forth just to make sure with my round brush that it's nice and smooth. If you want a round brush, you're more than welcome to. I think there's some in that drawer right there. That would be a big help. And then we can style with. Oh, it doesn't matter the size or whatever you're more comfortable with. So I just want to show you guys this one little section right here. So that's where I did like all those little like peaks. Am I going to be playing?
No, not at all.
How soft that like little highlight is. It's just right there through the top. And then I melted that in through with our root shadow. You guys are going to be able to come up and kind of sit through her hair too. Just wanted to show you that.
What color is on your hair?
What's that?
What's the orange?
It's Color Fresh Create. It's Hyper Coral.
Haircolor.
In my like bright pieces, yeah. Yeah, so I pre-lightened it and then put Hyper Coral over the top of it. Yeah.
Is there an equivalent with Championity for that color?
Not that vibrant, but seven, because this is a vivid, you know, like a fashion color. But 7/3/4 is absolutely beautiful. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the book we actually have physical names for our colors. So that's kind of a way to like talk it up to your guests. Is that like, do you want a pink shimmer glaze? Because there's actual names to them, or a strawberry latte, or you know, things like that. Kind of gets them like excited and like it's something new and fun, right? Typically with Wallow, we don't have physical names, we have numbers, right? So this is, we have both. It's our full color line that actually has physical names to the color. That is associated. These little fringe in her curtain bangs, I'm actually just blow drying forward first so that I can get them to kind of like lean forward instead of just separate and split up at the top, because I want that darker veil to come over, and then I'll separate them where they want to go and come forward with that. Sorry. Do you typically wear your hair straight or curl?
Usually straight.
you good with like a little beachy wave?
Yeah.
So you guys, you can see underneath now like how she actually has that light that's popping through, like that little piece that was behind her ear is now coming through. Does anybody have any questions while we're kind of finishing up this blow dry on the colors? Does everything make sense? Feel kind of, so you can use it.
Yes. Where did you get your shoes from? They look very comfortable and cool.
Where did what?
The shoes?
My shoes? Yeah, they're Doc Martens.
The Walmart?
Doc Martens? Yeah.
Because your age, they don't know what Doc Martens are.
They look very comfortable.
I'm like, yeah, Doc Martens were my 6th grade is when I found my love. I'm like the full Kurt Cobain grunge era. Thank you so much for your help. It's a 10-minute job instead of an hour. What's that? Oh yeah. That's always good. You never like to get caught up, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna show you this while it's dry, and then I'm gonna throw a little bit of like a beachy wave to it. But you can see like how before she didn't have like very much solid down here, it was just kind of there, you know what I mean? And this was all dark, like right behind her ear. And now we actually have depth back there, and then that fun little like piece through the front. And then when she pulls it back, she actually does have like all that nice light. It's not just like one straight like root, you know what I mean? It actually looks like it's blended and melted through. And then that's where all of those like peaks are. So you can see, even though I did put like a level 5, 6 on that root part right there, it's still popping through and melting through there. Yeah, you guys are more than welcome, before I put like some curls in it, come on up and piece through it and look at everything.
Step
Feel
up,
her
ladies.
hair. You can see, like, you can literally feel the like smoothness in it and like how shiny it is.
What if you have a client that like the piece she has that's a little bit brassy? What would we do if they don't want that? You know, they Like
say
when you
that?
pull it back a little bit, I don't mind it, but if somebody was like, they didn't like the kind of the darker piece.
Oh, the darker piece, yes. You can do just a different level, like just put something else on top of it. That was kind of the point, is just to have all that like light and, because you're gonna
Right.
highlights, yeah.
But you know, you have
But,
some people that.
oh yeah, that they want like everything like platinum-y and all things like that.
Yeah.
I would actually lift her higher.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm just gonna use a GHD Platinum Plus, which is our smoothing iron, and just put a couple little little beachy waves through here, so it really shows off all of the dimension and all of the color. Facing the wrong way here. So these are all of those pieces that were right behind her ear. And you'll actually, once I finish this, I'll show you the back. You're able to see those pieces through the back because it was very dark back here. When you looked at her from the back of the head, it looked like she had a few foils like in her crown, and that was it. And then it was just dark. So this actually just helps blend everything. And I'm taking all of these pieces and going away from her face in the front. And then I'll just kind of like warm this up a little bit because I've already done a little bit with my round brush, but just giving that a little bit of an extra oomph to it. Do you guys use curling irons or flat irons to curl, or both, depending on the day?
Mostly curly.
Mostly curling irons?
But it's not true, right, that the kids don't like the tone and the tone style?
I mean, it's possible if you're,
And
if
that's, I'm
you're,
always afraid of
if
using
your
that
curling
after.
iron or your flat iron is too hot, yes, definitely. 370 is, well, 365 is what's called like the glass, like the glass area, which is actually the correct temperature to where it can actually reform the hair without damage. So, yeah, I stay somewhere between, or actually, the Platinum Plus is actually at 365 something, so there is no temperature. So it has technology in it so that it actually stays hot all the way through the hair, the same temperature. Because that happens sometimes, you'll have to re-go over something, like if you used a curling iron or a flat iron, by the time you get to the end, it didn't do anything because it's cool by then. This actually stays the same temperature all the way down the hair, which means that you can actually smooth it through. So you're not having to re-go over it constantly, right? And then this is just some thermal image, which is just a little bit of heat protectant for those ends. So do you guys think that you would use that balayage quick little technique just to kind of,
Definitely.
yeah, it's so quick, easy, you can, it's fully, like, you can just, what is the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, do I need more coffee? It is customizable to any of your guests, right? Short hair, long hair, it's just basically the technique. It's the zigzag and then the full saturation through the ends, right? So you can take that and interpret that however you want with whatever guest or client or anything. I actually did it on myself, so I love the technique. And I think that little face framing layer or foils are not going away. That's staying. It's just kind of taking different routes, right? Like I think we're seeing a lot of like that 90s, like very thick money piece in the front right now. which you could do this whole technique with, which would save you so much time than doing back to back to back foils. And you can get the exact same result in half of the time. And also, I think that, at least with my guests, they think that I'm doing something super fancy and fun when I'm balayaging. I'm like, nope, just trying to save some time. Just kidding. But it does, it takes a lot of technique, right? Like, when you first start balayaging, it's a little bit scary. But once you practice, it just gets easier and easier, and that's like my go-to. I love to balayage. It's, I just think you have like a lot of creative flexibility with it, you know?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well,
Me either, girl.
me, sis. Maybe you should take one of my classes more often then. That's nice time.
I was making a lot of noise with my
Oh, you're
little
okay.
bag of
I'm
candy.
like,
Because
snack
everybody
time.
like looking at me like, what are you doing?
So I'm just gonna run some of this Perfect Me through my hands. I put it on kind of like lotion, so it's on the tips of my fingers too, so that when I actually go like this, it's not just like sitting on the top of her hair.
And Melissa, you said this service from start to finish, if you were in the salon, could take us
An hour. Yeah, it usually does. I do a lot of face framing foiling, just like a quick little touch up, say like it was or foiling or balayaging, say it was in between my guest that comes like 8 weeks every 3 months for like a full foil, but they come every 6 weeks for just a quick face frame, and then I do their gloss with Shinefinity through it. So yeah, it's just a refresh, you know, super quick.
How much will you charge for the whole service?
Well, I think that is kind of up to your demographic, like which is kind of different, you know what I mean? Like, so Arizona could be a little bit different. I'm in a little higher end area, but I always say that a rule of thumb is like, if you are going to do this, how much product are you using? And what's your percentage of that? And then always adding that tone onto it, like the toner or the glossing service onto it. So yeah, just whatever your blonding service is, find that middle ground that makes you okay.
Get comfortable charging.
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, it is hard to talk money with
Yes,
people.
I know.
Yes.
And it will depend how many times you
Exactly.
stand. doing it.
Yes.
It looks beautiful. The skin tight.
Yay. Yeah, so she's got like those highs and lows and some super cool pieces, like those really blonde pieces that we got in there. And then, so you're just getting like those shifts of cools and warms and lights and darks. So just adds so much to it. And then just like that fun little like money piece through the front. Because she said she's growing out her fringe. And so this gives you a little bit like more fun to it than having to just have a fringe that's growing out, right?
Very nice, thank you.
And then I'll spin her around so you guys can see what it looks like from the back. It's like a little cool latte, right? So yeah, she didn't have those little pieces back here.
Look at that.
So now you can see everything from the back. Because it was just this dark, right? So now she has some dimension through there.
Yeah.
And then those blonde pieces in the front are her lightest, so it just kind of fades into that.
It looks beautiful.
Awesome. Cool.
Very nice, thank
Yeah,
you.
and you can see all that shine from the Shinefinity. So, But yeah, so just a quick little recap. We used our free lights with a 30 volume on her freehand painting with our zigzag, and then we did our Shinefinity color melts with our 05/98, 06/07 on her roots, and then our 0781 and 0898 through her ends, and just melted everything through. So, does anybody have any questions on her?
Comments, concerns?
Anything? Like, was there anything that really stood out that was like your aha moment? Like something cool that, yeah?
No,
I was scared.
just zigzag
What?
part. Yeah, everything, even just zigzag part, just from
Yeah.
like.
Well, and if you really like look through here with a zigzag, like, so that is where one of those big zigzags was, right? And it looks like highlights. Yeah, like that looks like a highlight. Just as long as you bring that root melt down just a little bit, it actually just blurs that whole line out.
And as long as you blend.
As long as you blend. Yes, and definitely sweeping up with your like feathering through with your lightener is a big thing. Oh, and then you're squeezing your lightener off. It will save your life.
All right, let's go ahead and close it for the people at home.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you guys. Really appreciate